The Toronto Blue Jays are making moves. We have some very interesting moves to break down today. Following what has been a crazy stretch of games for the Toronto Blue Jays, they continue to make moves. We're to break that down as well as discuss multiple huge updates as more reinforcements are on the way in the middle of what has been the best stretch of play for the Toronto Blue Jays this season and also in a very long time. We also have some interesting comments surrounding the Toronto Blue Jays from George Springer and a ton of other things to go over today, folks, including one update that has fans absolutely fired up. Ladies and gentlemen, there is a ton to go over today, but before we get into it, if you're part of the 71% who aren't subscribed to the channel, you guys have been absolute beasts with the support, so thank you guys for that. Make sure to hit that subscribe button if you're enjoying the daily Jays content. We're continuing to produce every single day for you all, so if you're enjoying that, make sure to hit that button. Ladies and gentlemen, a lot to go over today, and obviously, there has been a lot of conversation around the Toronto Blue Jays lately. They've won 9 out of their last 10. They're absolutely rolling. They have a chance this afternoon to sweep another series. They swept Oakland, or I guess they swept the Athletics rather, sorry, and now they're on the verge of sweeping the Twins. But we have some big updates to go over today as things are looking not only up, but reinforcements are on the way. But let's start with some other things first. So, of course, a few days ago, the Jays, they DFA'd both Ali Sanchez and Michael Stefanik. Now, Ali Sanchez, close friends with Andres Jimenez, and he was the backup catcher when Tyler Heineman was down, and we know how good Tyler Heineman has been in this season, but also since returning. But there was a bit of confusion going on around Ali Sanchez, so I want to clear this up before we get into some of the other bigger updates here. But they retained some catching depth as Ali Sanchez cleared waivers and was sent back to the Bisons, but he actually declined his outright assignment to AAA, electing free agency, then signed back with the Blue Jays on a minor league deal. So he has signed with the Jays on a minor league deal, and this is good news if you follow the minor leagues at all. Of course, again, he's friends with Andres Jimenez. He's notably, known as a really good clubhouse guy down there in AAA. A younger catcher, compared to some of the other guys that they had in the system. So it's great to see him back with the Toronto Blue Jays, especially when he basically had to get outright in DFA to come back with the team in a minor league deal. You love it. You love to see that, especially for the guys, in the organization who, like him and things like that. So that's really good news there. And Michael Stefanik will also remain in the organization here. Both of the guys who were DFA'd, Sanchez and Stefanik, remain in the organization. He cleared waivers and accepted his assignment to the AAA Buffalo Bison. So clearly the Toronto Blue Jays are doing something right. You have guys, excited to return, whether it be on minor league deals, major league deals. And Michael Stefanik remains here. And, he's a valuable depth piece. And that's about all he is. He came up, he played with the Blue Jays for a while, didn't really perform much this season. But at the same time, in his brief stint, you always need to have those depth, 4A guys. And guess what? He is a 4A guy, and he's probably always going to be, at least for now, especially at this point of his career, but he's a beast in that role, and we're going to, accept that. But a couple, quick notes there. Both those guys remain in the organization. A lot of people thought that they were both gone and completely out. They remain in the organization, which is very interesting news. But now this is pretty important. Reliever Nick Sandlin felt good in his 1 1/3 inning rehab outing in the Florida Complex League. Said manager John Schneider will move to upper levels for the next outing. Of course, this dropped a couple days ago, but this piece is very important because it kind of got swept under the radar with all the Blue Jays wins that have been happening, all these different things. Nick Sandlin is going to be, I believe he's going to have another outing today or tomorrow. He is going to be, probably moved up now to AA, AAA, whatever it ends up being. I would assume AAA for his next, rehab stint. They usually go straight to AAA following the Florida Complex League. This is very good news. And this bullpen is going to have some big, important decisions to make soon because Nick Sandlin was an elite reliever for the Jays this year. He did his thing in Cleveland, and now he's back here with the Blue Jays. If he gets called up here soon, which we assume he will, following, his rehab stint, or I guess, got back since then, things will look very, very good in this bullpen. Their bullpen's slowly been better, but the question remains then, who do they end up DFAing? And we're going to have a whole video on that. I mean, Braden Fisher's been lights out of the bullpen. Chad Green's been a little bit shaky. Like, do you let Chad Green go? There's been some rumblings around letting Chad Green get DFA'd. It is interesting, and they're going to bring Nick Sandlin back. Swanee's back now to see who they let down. I would assume it's Braden Fisher, but at the same time, folks, it's going to be very interesting to see because that is a decision that, they need to bring him back. But their bullpen's been very good lately, and you have a lot of, again, Braden Fisher, Brendan Little's an elite reliever now. Mason Flaherty's been great. You're not sending him down. I mean, Chad Green's probably been one of the worst relievers out of the bunch that, they have remaining here. But I don't know if you send him down. He has a couple years left in his contract. It's very intriguing, and it's going to be very interesting to see how that holds up. But at the end of the day, he has been very, very good for this Toronto Blue Jays team, and hopefully he can continue this rehab stint and do well. Spencer Turnbull as well. He's reportedly getting closer and closer. I covered that in a video yesterday or the day before. So it's going to be interesting, folks, to see what happens with this, cluster of relievers that they have because they have a ton of them. And if they don't, they're going to have to make some tough decisions here soon. But of course, decisions that are good, because when you have a lot of if you have a lot of good players and good relievers, a lot of the teams around the MLB don't. So being forced into that decision it's a good thing. It's a good thing at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen. But let me know down below what your thoughts are on these three moves. Of course, nothing too crazy. This is a pretty big update here as the bullpen. And again, you're gonna want to buy a starting pitcher at the trade deadline. You want to be buyers. You get a starting pitcher. You buy one of those. It'd be pretty, and we assume is going to be, a pretty interesting deadline for the Jays, whether that's bullpen, whether that's starting pitchers. It's going to be interesting there. But let me know down below what your thoughts are on that. One other thing here, we're going to have another video for you guys soon on this as well. Trey Savage, yesterday, it was just a couple days ago, I guess the actual game was phenomenal, right? 5 innings, 2 hits. This was yesterday. Yeah, yesterday. 5 innings, 2 hits, 1 run. Gage Stanford, 4 innings, 2 hits, no runs. They've been the best tandem in minor league baseball, and they've been unbelievable. That's the back-to-back unbelievable starts for Trey Savage. He is pushing himself up the pecking ranking. I mean, again, I don't think he's going to be playing for the Blue Jays this season. I don't think they're going to rush him like they rushed Nate Pearson and Alek Manoah. But man, oh man, does he look dominant. I could see a AAA promotion here soon. I asked Keegan when he was on our show what he thought was going to be the ETA for Trey Savage. He said, next summer, next June-ish, next June or July of next season. So we're thinking a year out, but the way that he's been performing, not only have the Blue Jays hit on a lot of these prospects, especially their most recent first-round picks. You think back to a lot of different guys. Arjun Amala, first-round pick in 2023. Trey Savage, first-round pick in 2024. That's back-to-back first-round picks now, who seemingly, of course, they haven't made it to the bigs yet, are absolutely electric. And this is exactly what you want to see for these two guys. So also, shout out Gage Stanford. He's been absolutely lights out as well. I mean, the vibes are high. You also have a ton of prospects. I talk about them all the time that are playing so well down in the minors. There's not a lot of room for them in the major league team. And a lot of these guys are, approaching their ETA. Think about Aurelvis Martinez. He was supposed to be playing for the Jays this year, had the PED suspension, the injuries, all these different things. Ladies and gentlemen, he's going to be used as a trade chip this trade deadline. You're going to have a ton of these prospects who are playing well. Not necessarily these two. I think they're going to be, in the more untouchable area, at least Trey Savage for sure. But you're talking about these guys. They're going to be in these prospects in trade conversations, and it's going to be a crazy next month or two for this team, especially if they continue to win. And they are looking like they're going to continue to win. They're 35-29. They stand atop the wild card standings. Some fantastic news out of town scoreboard yesterday. The Yankees lost, the Rays lost, and the Red Sox won, but they beat. I mean, it was just a very, very good day for the out of town scoreboard. You absolutely love to see it. And again, at the end of the day, folks, it is early to be scoreboard watching, but I want to scoreboard watch because they are they were in the wild card 1 spot. We think back to a few weeks ago when the sky was falling for this team. Start of the season was good. They were 12-8, but that was, on the back of a little bit of luck, great pitching. The bats weren't great. Now you had the little stretch in the middle against really good teams where Jays played really bad. Now they're playing still great teams, but a bit weaker opponents. But their offense has been absolutely electric, and that's what's carrying them. They're a game up on a wild card spot. They're 9-1 in their last 10. You're at a point now where your schedule is easing up. Your offense is looking good. You're able to buy at the trade deadline and become elite. And this is the first time the Jays have won 9 games in a 10-game span since July of 2022, folks. It has been almost 3 years. 3 years since we've seen a Toronto Blue Jays team this exciting and this electric. And I wake up every day excited to watch Jays. And of course, I feel that way whether they're winning or losing. But being able to actually have faith in the baseball team I'm watching is something that I'm never going to take for granted. But man, oh man, I'm never going to take it for granted again following, what has been a fantastic year. And some people are going at, Don Mattingly and the new hitting coaches. I am happy they moved on from Don Mattingly as a hitting coach. Dave Popkins, Lou Linati, fantastic. Everything's working so far. Alejandro Kirk is fantastic. And look at this. They have the second most comeback wins in the MLB again, following the Dodgers. And of course, the Twins are right behind them, which is ironic because they could tie them in today's game, theoretically. But folks, and of course, quickly before we wrap up here, let's go over. It's a comment from George Springer. Now, obviously, we know this team has been an absolute roll. I've been discussing it a lot. But he came out after the game and said there's no quit in this team. And of course, not necessarily a huge comment or anything like that, but it's a very indicative comment of how good this team has been. I mean, let's not, beat around the bush here. We're going to be critical when the team is bad, and we're going to be very, it's still going to be hard on the team when the team is good. But ladies and gentlemen, not only is the team been fantastic, there's no quit in the squad. And to hear that from George Springer, to hear that from the players around the organization, it tells a lot about the vibes of the team. The vibe of George Springer himself is having a career year given the trajectory of his career. And the vibes are at an all-time high. But ladies and gentlemen, that'll wrap it up. Let me know down below what your thoughts are on all of this. Things are getting crazier. We're keeping you up to date with all the latest news. And let's hope the Jays can continue to be beasts and take care of of course, Minnesota Twins in this afternoon's game.